Hi. I just had an insight about a recipe for a happy life. Um, you identify hard things. Um, you identify feelings that need to be moved through quickly, so that they're not festering. It's sort of like, if you walk into a stinky bathroom, you get in, you get out. You don't spend a lot of time breathing that in. Same thing with feelings that are stinky. Don't spend a lot of time with them. Process them, and then look for the mechanisms that created them and do what you can to disrupt them so that you and other people don't have to go through so much of that. If you put the bathroom exhaust fan on, then you don't have to do the stinky bathroom thing, right? So we look for things that mitigate damage caused by hard things. The question I got wrong on my driving test a long time ago was if you have to choose between hitting something that won't give, and of it, if you have the choice, if an accident is unavoidable, that was the question. If an accident is unavoidable, do you choose to hit something that will give or choose not to hit something that won't give? And I took the double negative, because I thought that it gave me more room, more options. So if you choose to hit something that will give, then that could be like a person that gives, or a dog or something. I know it means avoid brick walls. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because even when I was a teenager, I had this in my head of there's this thing called damage control, where you should leave your options as open as possible, logically. And I argued about this being right on this question on this test, and it didn't matter. I still passed the test. I only had that one wrong. But anyway, the point is that if we think in terms of there's something hard going on here, I'm about to hit a brick wall, right? What can I do to lessen the impact against that brick wall? Well, I could slow down so that I'm not hitting the brick wall at full speed. I could turn a little so that I'm not hitting it head on. Although maybe head on is safer, I don't know. And as a society, that's something we could be investigating, right? Is head on better than it's at a slight angle? Do you get more whiplash at a slight angle, but less impalement, of body organs? As a society, we could have labs that study damage control. That would be super great, actually, to start a movement of that. But you can choose to hit. You can do things that mitigate the damage. In the realm of drug recovery, it's called harm reduction. So if somebody is using dirty needles and they are dying from the infections from the dirty needles, harm reduction is get them clean needles. That's the reason that we have needle exchange programs. It's harm reduction. My thing when I talk to people about quitting smoking cigarettes, it's if you're going to smoke a cigarette, don't beat yourself up for doing it. That would be harm reduction, looking at it that way. If you're going to smoke a cigarette, enjoy the cigarette. I say the same thing with chocolate or anything else. If you're going to do something that you think isn't good for you, change the opinion that you're doing something that isn't good for you. That's the thing that's damaging more than the thing. When we're beating ourselves up, the last thing that we need to be doing is eating something or smoking something or drinking something that's harming us. That's not what we need right then. We need extra love then. Eat things that feel like love when you're going through something hard. That would be also harm reduction. That would be damage control. I don't like the words harm reduction anymore because there's so much connotation wrapped up in it. Somehow things got weird about that word. But damage control, I think people get damage control. Putting out fires. As a society, we could be making fire extinguishers and parachutes, because there's no net. So when people fall, it hurts. And they do a lot of damage. And we're all really one, and we all share the same wound. So it makes sense as a society to work on those things, but I think we thought somebody was handling that. But actually, that actually isn't anybody's job. You think that if your neighbor's having a hard time, that there is somebody, that it's their job to make sure that your neighbor does okay and isn't suffering too much. And it's just not true. I thought that too. I was wrong. It's just not true. Which means it's our job. And we're all one anyway. So like, if we're not paying attention to our neighbors, what else aren't we paying attention to? I was taking a shower this morning and I thought about it. I'm like, how often do I touch my feet? How often do I touch different parts of my body? You know, like, I am a universe, right? I'm a speck in this enormous, vast universe. And I have all these vast specks in me that like look to me as a universe, right? So like, if I'm not in touch with different parts of the universe, and I'm not in touch with most of the universe, to be like, if I'm really honest, I don't spend as much time in my body as other people that I know. And I spend way more time in my body than I used to. So the fact that I can leave means I'm not my body, right? I don't associate myself with the body. I don't associate myself with the microbes in the body, although they're part of me and I'm part of them in a way because I'm their container. Like, I am a universe, right? I am a Mother Earth. I have a ton of life inside of me. I can feel it. I don't know. I think that I'm not entirely sure there's really other people anymore. I think maybe that this really kind of is a simulation. And it's really hard to believe. And I would be shocked that I was saying it 10 years ago. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I already had an inkling. But before I started getting my bachelor's degree in philosophy, if I had heard what I just said, I would have... crazy police. I would have called the crazy police. There aren't crazy police, by the way. That's nobody's job either, actually. What else do we think is somebody's job? Paying attention to whether or not our food is poisoned. The dates that I just bought that say that they're organic, that don't taste at all organic, that were way too cheap, could be coming from China, and they're just putting labels on things. They're growing things with tons of pesticides, and they're just putting organic on it. And since that doesn't really mean anything in China, I might have the wrong country. I think that's what I heard was China. Since organic doesn't, like natural. We can put natural on, holy fuck, what are we doing to other countries? The word natural in the United States legally means nothing. They can put, I mean, when you see all natural stuff, it says all natural on your food, it literally means nothing. That's propaganda. Is that a good application for the word propaganda? It might be. I'm not sure. Argue with me about it if you want. But it's so funny saying things like that when you believe there's no other people. That's why I'm working so hard on my programming. It's because everything I say has to then be in alignment with a universe where there's no other people. And as long as I'm showing up and I'm being kind and I'm being good in the world, what difference does it make what I believe, how I organize that, right? So here's the way I organize it. Is that there's this poem called The Egg. And in The Egg, I don't post it and I'll talk about it because only about 3/4 of the language really works for me. But the part of the language that works for me is that you go through this lifetime and you're there to experience what there is to experience. That's something I've been saying for a while. And then you're reborn. And that the time is not, like, the timelines don't matter. So in The Egg, the guy was going back to be a woman in like the 15 BC or something, or I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And he's like, what? And then it's time travel. Like, it's not, we made that up. So everyone we meet then is another iteration of us. So the person that you cannot stand, they're an iteration of you. You know, they're living out another existence, another timeline. But they're basically you, you know? They're as much you as the new Doctor was the first Doctor in Doctor Who, right? So every time the Doctor regenerates, he's completely different on the outside, but feels exactly the same inside, right? I keep regenerating where I feel completely different inside, but I look the same on the outside. Well, I changed on the outside too, but not quite as dramatically as the doctor. I'm still me. But anyway, so I just kind of leaned into the curiosity that comes from, well, what if I believe this perspective, right? So my life looks kind of crazy to like what past me thought I was supposed to do. I thought I was supposed to get married and have a nice house and like have these great parties and, look good on Facebook, have pictures, like people come over to my house and like take pictures and people envy them on Facebook. I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. Like, that's the programming I got growing up. That's how you knew you were doing okay, right? That was weird programming from my current perspective. Why was I doing that? Like, what was the benefit? Like, why? I don't even know now. Like, I don't understand. So, if I could have lived that lifetime in this body and look nothing like I did because I was 100 pounds heavier, feel nothing like I did because I was sick and miserable, like, if I've lived that lifetime in this lifetime, what I'm thinking is, like, not even that far-fetched. But that means changing all of my programming so that I'm not causing cognitive dissonance. And it's just thinking that I'm living inside of a video game or something like that causes me less cognitive dissonance than thinking that this is real. I don't know how to explain that one. So I'm changing my programming to be in alignment with it, changing the words I say to be in alignment with it, changing how I understand things. And the more I do it, the more results around me seem to happen, right? I keep looking at my friends and they're like doing unbelievably well. The people who spend a lot of time talking to me, they're making more money than they've ever made. They're happier, if that's one of the things that the game. I have friends that's not true for, but they don't play the game of money. But there's less suffering about money. There's freedom around money is, I guess, what it should. Everybody's getting more and more freedom. They're more free to express exactly how they are and what they do. And, I don't know, whatever it is, I hit on something, I don't have it all figured out at all. I'm framing my mindset of like who I am in the world as a guru in a very early in her career. Or a philosopher very early in her career, or a teacher very early in her career. I'm 45, and I feel like in this unfuck yourself career that I have been training for, I will be seen as a leader in this field. And right now I'm doing the work. And I'm trying to do it as transparently as possible so I can see the results around me. Because if we're all unfucking ourselves when we listen to each other, like, then things are going to be okay, If there's more suffering and there's more war after listening to each other, then we're not doing it right, from my perspective. Anyway, so I think of it like this. I have this video game simulation sort of overlaying reality. It's sort of like people walk around playing Pokemon Go, where they're seeing creatures in front of them, like I'm looking at a parking lot, and they'd be seeing creatures through their phone holding it up, that there's a creature in the parking lot, right? So I just kind of asked my mind to supply this overlay, and I've been doing this for a long time now, many, many years. I used to play a lot of Diablo 2 in my using internet gaming as my numbing tool days, which were fun days. I enjoyed them. I didn't even smoke weed at the time. I can't even imagine what my life would have, how enjoyable that would have been if I smoked weed at the time. So, but although there was a lot of wine. So, I was so sick when I was drinking wine. The thing that could have landed me in jail when I was in New Jersey is making me well. And the thing that was perfectly legal, sanctioned, advertised everywhere was killing me. The sulfites in the wine were actually what was killing me, but that's beside the point. The wine wasn't helping. the dehydration actually that the wine caused. It was the dehydration from the wine and the sulfites in the wine that was really what was making me very, very sick, and I drank a lot of wine. My ex-husband and I shared a bottle of wine pretty much every night. One of the reasons I drank as much as I did was so that he wouldn't have 3 glasses. So I drank 2, but big glasses, I mean. Anyway, video game overlay. So I asked the universe, the game controller, the paradox matrix, I have no idea what I'm asking. I just ask, and whatever it is that runs that answers. I ask it to show me miracles, to show me beauty, to show me... I used to ask for it to show me all the terrible things, all the things where I was a victim, so that I could justify things, so that I could tell these tragic stories. I was always looking for tragic stories, and I found them, because you always get what you always get back what you put out. So even if you say you don't want to see something, all that, the don't want to see, it's not in the right language, so that doesn't get input, just the thing after it does. So, if you're tired of people stealing from you, you're going to keep getting people stealing from you to be tired about, because that's just, it's the way the language works. It's just, that's the syntax of the language that programs us. So I ask for serendipity to show up, for beauty to show up, for the right circumstances, for ease and play and bliss, and for all my friends. I ask for all those circumstances for my friends too. And it's that's what's showing up. And I ask it to highlight people that I should make a connection with. And very often I will walk up to somebody, and I'm sure some of you watching this have had it happen. I've walked up to you and said, I feel like I'm supposed to talk to you, and I have no idea what to say. Or I just said something weird to start a conversation with you. I can think of at least 15 of you that could tell stories like that right now. Because you were highlighted for some reason. For some reason, there was a download for you, or I had an upload for you. Or download? I don't know how that works. Or we had resources to exchange, or for whatever reason you needed an energy boost, and I was the kind of character for you that boosts your energy. In Diablo 2, I used to play the sorceress all the time. That's not surprising. I'm very much aligned with being a magical creature. I always thought I was a magical creature when I was a child, and I used to make up all these stories, and then I spent 20 years being ashamed of the fact that I had made up all these magical stories, and now I'm back to living in them, and I've never been happier. So, doing something right. Okay, so let's review. I use this video game overlay where I ask for really great things to find me. And I ask for these amazing serendipity things to happen, which they do. And then the hard stuff, because hard stuff comes up. It has to, because otherwise there's no matter how good things are, when things are less good, we still use the comparison, right? Because otherwise we don't appreciate the really good. This is a realm of dichotomy, which is the reason that we have this paradox matrix that helps us move through the dichotomy, because if we're all one, there is no dichotomy. It's all false. Anything that compares something to something else is false because it's the same thing. It's, Anyway, the paradox matrix makes us be able to hold in our minds at the same time the paradox that we are, that we're a universe, that there's a universe inside of us, and we are in this vast universe, all of us, and there are physically other people walking around. I can touch them, they have emotions, they have things to say. I just don't know that they're any separate from me, right? So there's 2 parts to the next part, is if you know that you're all one, the paradox matrix has trouble with this because there's too much, right? So translating it into English is the hard part. I can feel it, I can think it, I can understand it. I have all these things. But then to speak it in this weird language, it's the only language I know. It's the reason I speak it. The answer I just got was music. I can probably tell you all this through music, but the conduit is not fully open yet. And it will be fully open once it's coming. Anyway. I don't know what I was saying, so I'm just going to see if there's anything else that needs to be downloaded. I think I said everything, just not in the right order. I started the video with Secret to a Happy Life. That's where I started. And it was identify the hard things. Because I think that's one of the things we don't do, is we think we're supposed to just, like, you know, like, chin up, you know, like, put a, you know, we're supposed to do this when hard things come up, but that doesn't do anything to dissolve the hard thing. The hard thing's still there. You know, somebody died, and, you know, if you're going to drink through that, or if you're going to whatever through that to deal with the fact that they died, like, that, the hard thing happened, you know, and we could start doing damage control in our lives, because if we depended on that person, you know, if we had stuff that had to get processed, like, anyway, look for the hard things and identify them so that you can move through them quickly. Make sure you have resources, like people to ask for help and whatever you need to get through the hard thing as quickly as possible with as little collateral damage. You know, it's like if you get a wound and it's like a real zigzag crazy wound, sometimes they open it up and like so that it does collateral damage to like the rest of it, because it wasn't just. But if you just, you know, if you notice it was like, oh, that's sharp, let me not continue to drag my arm through that, then you don't get this jagged thing that somebody then has to go in and do more damage to. And avoid collateral damage, you know. Don't beat yourself up for smoking. It's because the beating yourself up is causing more damage. All wounds must heal. Wounds that sit festering are dangerous to all of us, you know, because then people like do things like go and shoot rooms full of people. This is festering wounds. This is the expression of a festering wound. Damage control, harm reduction, parachutes, fire extinguishers. Go check on your neighbors and say, do you have everything you need? I don't have much more than I need myself, or I don't have enough myself. But, you know, I want to know, do you have everything you need? Because it's really much easier for you to find resources for someone else than it is for you to find resources for you. I'm sure you've gotten to be a good advocate by now, that you've had to advocate for other people for some reason, for something. We can always get resources for other people. That was one of my strategies when I was really hungry. I went and found other hungry people, and then I got us all fed. So, because if you've got 20 hungry people, people step up to feed you. You know, if you've got one person that's hungry, people judge you. Because I look like I should be able to feed myself, right? Because we have judgments that that's a thing. Because we don't know that we're all one, right? Like, if we know that we're all one. Oh, this is the other piece of my game. Is Matt Kahn said in a video that the container, the body, is the thing that's on the spiritual journey, which makes sense because it's the thing that's born, it's the thing that grows, it's the thing that dies. And I can think about the fact that I'm not in it, which means I'm not it, because I couldn't have that experience of being separate. So I don't know what I am. I guess I'm the sentience, you know, so I think of myself very much as an organic computer, which means then I have programming, and I have tabs that are open, and I have computations that have to get done, and I have calculation depth, and I have all these words that, like, make total sense to me. You know, and there's like electricity. This is, you know, the heart's electric. I was having all kinds of electrical problems with my heart because of the sulfites. I was sick for so long. Off the charts, actually. EKG abnormal because of sulfites. And a cardiac catheterization because of sulfites. Because of something that people were able to put in wine to preserve it, because they're allowed to make wine that doesn't go bad. So that we're disrupting life for profits. You can't, money doesn't nourish us. I think that's all the downloads there were. I guess I'm just going to put this on YouTube as is, and maybe somebody can edit it into something coherent.